I like the approach, Mike Lubie Lewis. Let's just get right into it here. Barely had time to clear my throat here. Lubie's already got the music going. It's fantastic. Another edition of Defo on 5. And wow, I mean, your eyeballs had to be kaleidoscopic last night trying to keep track of all of this action. I don't know how you handled it, Mike Lubie Lewis. A couple of local playoff games of great significance. The Panthers opening up their series against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And lo and behold, it's a Cinderella story. It continues. The Panthers have now won 4 in a row in the postseason after looking like they were going to get shut out of the postseason as late as the next to last game of the regular season. And after coming back from a 3-1 deficit against the Boston Bruins, controlled the action last night, Lubie. I mean, it was 2-0. The Toronto Maple Leafs got back into the game 2-2. But you can't turn your head for a second. You have to keep your head on the proverbial Alex Sufrene swivel, as he talked about, and you had to keep up with the action in both games, as the Panthers quickly made it 3-2 and then closed it out 4-2, and are up 1-0 on the Toronto Maple Leafs, having taken home ice advantage away, which I'm not sure in the NHL that's any great advantage. Is it? Seems like the road team is winning a majority of the games through the first round and change of the postseason, but nice start there. And your man, Sergei Bobrovsky, the human sieve, outduels Ilya Samsonov, the outstanding Toronto goaltender, had a real good year. And so the Panthers are up 1-0 and in a very, very significantly favorable position so far in the series against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is a syndrome that affects teams. I'm not a big trend handicapper. I don't know that it matters what happened in 1942 between two teams, and then you look back and they maybe haven't played each other in several years in a postseason, and all of a sudden everybody's going, well, you know what? If you look back to that series in 2009, I don't know that it matters so much. I mean, we're not handicapping past performances of horses that just happened recently sometimes.
Exactly.
But nonetheless, Toronto's got that syndrome. I mean, I don't know if it's a curse or what, but they have this heavy weight on their shoulders that they haven't won the Stanley Cup in 100 years. And perhaps we saw some of that manifest itself last night. I told you, Lubie, and how are you, by the way? I don't know how you handled the two games last night. Because were you flipping back and forth, or did you finally capitulate to what was necessity, and that was getting out somewhere where they had two screens you could watch at once?
Well, Tuesdays I do trivia at a place called Vega Lounge in Pompano Beach.
Oh, that's right. So you're in good shape.
So it worked out really well. They actually, and it was a bunch of, thank God it was just South Florida fans. So everyone was, they had the Panthers, they had the Heat, and we all were just watching both games at the same time, which is mathematically impossible. And I haven't done that in a long time, but it was fun. And both teams were in it, which was cool. Like I thought the Heat were going to get blown out, and they didn't. And the Panthers, when they allowed the 2 goals, I was like, oh, here we go. And then they made sure to score right before the end of the second period. I was like, oh, look at them. I was like, okay, this could be interesting. And they weren't, you said it, they weren't controlled the entire game. And it was like they're building steam as they're going on in these playoffs, which is really impressive.
Character and the principles of all of this success is changing in terms of the personnel.
Yes.
You would have thought all of this championship stuff had to come from Barkov and Ekblad. And with the departure of Huberdeau, you're figuring, okay, Matt Tkachuk has to become a significant factor. Otherwise, that trade looks like a severe blunder. But instead, it does still coming closer and closer to looking like the most remarkable deal that's ever been made, favorable to a South Florida team. As Jonathan Huberdeau and his Calgary Flames out of the playoffs and have turmoil already. I believe the general manager's already been fired. The coach has been fired. So, he goes to a franchise that goes into complete pandemonium and chaos, as Gordon Soley would say. And meanwhile, the Panthers get Tkachuk, and he has become the linchpin, along with Carter Verhaeghe, who had a 40-goal regular season and has come up big the last 2 playoff games with huge scores. And you have to look at Montour, the defenseman, who all of a sudden looks like Bobby Orr, this guy. Wow. I mean, as a scoring threat, this guy's been fantastic. So the guys that you thought would be the principals in any kind of success, we've been hearing it for years, right? Well, you know what? You got to have Sasha and Ekblad. And when these 2 guys are in the lineup, we're really a dynamite team. Meanwhile, they've become among the missing. I mean, it's milk carton time for these guys, Barkov especially in the postseason. And these other 3 have really carried the torch. And then seems like, I don't know, they're calling guys up at the last second. They get guys, who's this Cousins guy?
I
Was
don't know.
that Kirk Cousins scored a goal for the Panthers last night?
I'm like, wow, good for Kirk. I know Minnesota has snow, but I don't know.
When did he learn how to skate? But it seems like every night you find some guy that you didn't even know was on the roster, and he has like a key goal in one of their playoff wins. So, good job. And the French Joe Philbin, Paul Maurice, really distinguishing himself. He's out coaching some of these guys. I think he outdid Montgomery in the first series against the Bruins. And it seems to be the epitome of cool. Maybe it's not that he's the French Joe Philbin. It's just that he is so cool. We have never seen anything like this before out of a Panther head coach. Gerard Gallant, who we often tout here, and I thought it was a disgrace the way that he was dismissed, and also probably a poor decision since he left that job with the Panthers after getting really indignantly thrown off the team bus and left to try and hitch a ride somewhere while being tossed a pair of snowshoes in his bag. And he ends up going to the Las Vegas Golden Knights, takes them to the Stanley Cup Final in their expansion year, and somehow falls into disaccord there. The Golden Knights still a factor even without Gallant, and he comes to the Rangers and looks like he has them going on the right track. You know what the big question is today? Whether or not Gallant will last into the next season.
Oh, jeez.
Right here, New York Post. Axe or answer?
He wears thin. I don't know what it is because the guy's a legit coach, but it feels like wherever he goes, the clock's ticking from the first day.
Well, I can understand where maybe, if you tell Vinny Viola to go fuck himself, that's probably not going to work real well. I mean, I don't know how many times you've done that with your boss, Lubie, but I could never get away with it. That's for sure. I mean, even now, I don't want to tell myself to go fuck myself, and now we're our own boss.
I still don't tell him to go fuck himself.
I would have concerns. I definitely would. But good story. And the next game is tomorrow night. So you don't have to wait too long on the Florida Panthers. And they're in an excellent position now. I mean, that's a pivotal game one that leads to a pivotal game two, which if you can take that pivotal game two and make it 2-0, then game three becomes doubly pivotal for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And even more pivotal for you because you have a chance to knock them right off their socks there with the 3 knockdown rule, be up 3-0, and you would have 4 swings to close out the series. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. A nice victory by the Panthers last night. And they get off to a great start against the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are staggering, trying to figure out when on earth they're going to be able to win another championship. They're choking on their Labatt's there. Did you see that? I mean, they were really distraught after that fourth goal. Looked like the kiss of death for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They did put some pressure on late in the game. It actually looked like with 30 seconds to go, there was an outside chance the Panthers give up a penalty, and so there's a power play and a 6-on-4 with the empty net. Excuse me. Throat's a little scratchy here today, Libby, but I don't know what it is. Ever since I've been taking this stuff that a guy recommended, he said he never had a cold in 10 years. This is like my 5th cold. I have to suspend operations on that. Heat game, another story. I mean, you couldn't have asked for much more out of the Miami Heat players that were in the game. Jimmy Butler, a late scratch, a game-time decision, and it turns out that he's out. How good are the handicappers? Remember we were talking about the 6.5-point spread? We were thinking Jimmy Butler was going to play as that spread was representative of the idea that the Heat were going to be more towards full strength than compromise. The Heat had taken game 1 in the series with Butler scoring 25. He's out for the second game, and they're right there. I mean, till the bitter end. The Miami Heat. They got outscored. I think there was an 18-6 run or a 24-12 run. 24-12 run at the end of the game. And the Knicks prevailed by 6. The spread was 6 and a hook on that game, Louie. You believe these guys? I mean, they're right on it, almost as a matter of routine. Good ball game by the supporting cast there. You would have to figure if Jimmy Butler's in the lineup, it's a different story. What was surprising is that the Knicks had their full complement of players last night. Randall comes back. The Brunson thing, I don't know what that was, but he played. He looked fine. He scored 30 points. And the Heat hung in there with a cast of characters you thought would have been badly compromised without their metronomic presence there and their leading scorer on offense. I mean, Jimmy Butler's averaging 35 points a game in the postseason. So that's a lot to leave out of the lineup, especially since they don't have another player of that level of dynamic. Or somebody that can just take over a game like that. You would think maybe that would be a role that Bam Adebayo could play, but he doesn't seem to want that role.
No.
He had 15 points in the game last night.
Useless.
I don't know that he was useless, but Useless. All right, you're going to give me.
Randall, who he's supposed to be a better talent than Randall. He's the one that people talk about as this great big, and Randall gets cast aside. Randall went for 25, 12, and 8.
Yeah.
Bam. Without anyone around him. And look, the role players played their asses off. You can't even ask for any more from Vincent. And
No, Vincent and Kayla Martin were great.
Martin was great. And even Robinson chipped in. But Lowry and Bam were the two that really should have stepped up. Lowry, who was pretty solid on defense, but with 6 points, he was chucking up a lot of really stupid shots. And 6 points from him just isn't going to do. And then Bam, like no hero already. Now no Butler. That's your and they don't have a real big Havenstein and Rand. Like he should have had a field day. 15-8 is not it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. When everyone else was playing so well above their head, a lot of the possessions he just stands there. And if we haven't accepted it now, it's time to accept it. Like the dude, this is who he is. And I don't know what you do with that. But the fact that they were in that game the whole game and Bam never at any point was like, you know what, maybe I should assert myself. It was really disappointing. That was the only disappointing part of last night's game because the rest of it was amazing. Like you were playing against Scott Foster, who was in rare form the last 7 minutes. The Knicks were hitting their threes, unlike the other game. RJ Barrett started out with 16 friggin' points, and I forgot he was even on the damn team. Brunson finished strong. Randall played well. You had all that. You're in the Garden. And with 2 minutes left, they were down by 1. I was floored with that game. And Bam didn't do anything. Bam had 15 and 8, like his season average. You're supposed to go higher than your season average. He was 5 points below his season average. It was amazing. Like Spoelstra really shows how good he is each and every time they're undermanned because it's like he gets into the lab and he's like, all right, fuck it. Like the fact that was a game, I just sat there in awe. I'm like, the fact that I was frustrated that they lost after that game was a sign of what this organization is because it should have been a 20-point route. Like it ended up growing to 10 and a hook. By the time it was game time, it was 10.
Oh yeah, they went off 10 and a hook.
Butler. I mean,
yeah.
Like, I was actually that's as impressed I've been by a loss in a long time. Like I just sat there going, "Holy shit, they could win this game!" Like what the hell?
They were in a position to win it all throughout, and it looked like they were going to come away with it. The Knick fans would have been absolutely despondent. I don't even know if they would have left the Garden there, but I thought they were celebrating rather resoundingly because I mean they were acting like this was Game 7 against the Lakers back in the day when the Willis Reed game took place. They were in a great position there to run away and bury the Heat and give them something to think about and make it even difficult to imagine the Heat winning with Jimmy Butler. But that was far from the case. So the Knicks do pull out the victory there, and they have off until Saturday night now.
Thank goodness.
Not even night, Saturday afternoon. They'll play at the what is it? Kezar Stadium. We're calling it Cassera.
Cassera.
What is Cassera? Have we ever figured that out? Does anybody know? Does Scoop Skolnick even know what Cassera is? What kind of company is it?
Software. Someone said it the other day. Andy Man, I think, said it. Cassera.
Software company? Okay. I'll buy that. It doesn't matter. It's better than having the Triple X Arena or whatever it was that they were going to be, or the Sidman, Bankman Fraud Arena.
Kaseya. It's Kaseya.
Kaseya. All right, so that'll be a hot place to be on Saturday afternoon as the Miami Heat and the New York Knicks resume their series, now tied up at a game apiece. All right, other action, the Kraken, man. Don't sleep on the Kraken. They come back after giving up a game-tying goal in their series against the Dallas Stars and end up winning the game 5-4. So they take a 1-0 lead. I mean, here's a second-year expansion franchise in the second round of the playoffs. They knocked off Edmonton, one of the or not Edmonton, but they knocked off their first-round opponent, Colorado, one of the favorites.
Defending champions.
Yeah, defending champions. And now they're 1-0 after winning another game on the road. Incredible. So the Kraken, I mean, surprising. I think Brian Scrutland logged some minutes last night for the Kraken.
Exactly. You ain't near about
How the hell is an expansion, a second-year expansion team doing what they're doing? NHL, very generous to its expansion brothers and sisters. Because, we've seen it now. Golden Knights have been good since the start of the franchise, although the Panthers were very helpful there. As we gave them a couple of players, Riley Smith and Jonathan Marchessault, who were instrumental in their success, and both are still on the roster. Usually that expansion wave, I mean, Riley Smith, I think, was acquired by a trade, a really dumb trade by Dale Talent. And Marchessault, I think, was made available in the expansion draft. And usually those guys go to way like Harry Cheedy, the recently departed Hobie Landreth. And you didn't know who they were when they came to the team, and then they didn't distinguish themselves very much, and then they're gone within a year or two, as you completely flip the roster. But not the case with the Golden Knights, and it looks like the Kraken are on some pretty solid ground also out of Seattle with their playoff win last night. The Lakers, I told you, Lubie.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
Don't sleep on the Lakers. Big underdogs to the Golden State Warriors last night. And they handled them pretty well. I mean, they were in the game. They were contentious throughout. And then when the money was on the table, they pulled away. And LeBron James, another fine game. Anthony Davis had a big ball game. And the rest of the supporting cast, just enough for the Los Angeles Lakers to look real good against Golden State. And they win that ball game, the final 117-112. Now up 1-0 and with home court advantage for the remainder of the playoffs, or at least until Golden State can win a game on the road, which was very prohibitive until they got in that series with the Sacramento Kings. Unbelievable. So the Lakers up 1-0 in the Western deal. Suns resume their series tonight, trying to get back into it. Chris Paul going to be out for at least a few games.
They're in trouble.
They're down 2-0 to Denver, who we've continued to discount as the rest of the world. Nobody cares about Denver in these postseason conversations. You rarely hear them mentioned. And here they are, up 2-0 on the Suns with an excellent chance to go ahead and win this thing in 5-6 games, maybe even sweep. But I would think that Phoenix bounces back a little bit tonight. Chris Paul, though, being out of the lineup doesn't help him any because it's a team lacking depth after the Durant acquisition.
Yep.
Booker and Durant, I mean, is there a way to stop these guys? So we will see. It appears that Denver so far has had the answers, and the Phoenix Suns don't really have an answer for Jokic once he gets going. So
Murray, that's the other thing, is as good as
Jamal Murray's been great.
People want to say Booker is, he's not. They don't have an answer for Murray. They don't have an answer for Murray, and they don't have an answer for Jokic. And they're going home, so I presume they'll take a game. But I don't know if they're getting back. And then without Chris Paul, you talk about metronomic presence. That's literally what he is for the Suns.
Yeah.
He's what allows Booker and Durant to work. I don't know if the two of them together are not going to be fighting over the ball. They're in a weird place because they're not done, but it feels like the Nuggets are just like, yeah, forget us, please, forget us.
Yeah, you're thinking if the Nuggets take one of these two games that they win the series.
Yeah, totally.
That having 2 out of 3 on their home wood of the remaining games, even tied 2-2, still is going to be very favorable for them. But we'll see. A lot of people thought the Suns were going to be the favorite to win the championship after they got Durant. And while it looked okay, very suspect in that Clippers series with the Clippers compromised the way they were to see the Phoenix Suns life and death in a lot of those games to get out of those games. And so far, they haven't had any answers for the Denver Nuggets. Marlins, Alcantara, what's going on with Sandy? Cy Young curse? What is that, Sports Illustrated jinx?
Well, it also doesn't help if you notice every start it's been like 1 or 0 run. Like it doesn't help that he knows. Like he knows he has to be great. So he's already.
It's not like they put a 6 spot up in the first inning.
He's already struggling, and then he knows that. Like literally, again, I think the last 2 starts have been 0 runs.
The Marlins have a winning record, but they're I don't know. Does it matter anymore? Am I just looking at a stat that's irrelevant? Their batting averages. As a team has to be just horrendous, even though Arise is hitting 425. But they have one other guy that's got, I don't know if Garrett Cooper's tailed off enough to, be below like 280 or whatever. But everybody else is hitting like, 220 and below. It's crazy. You can't. I don't think you can win that way. Not if you're going to build a team that's supposedly going to just manufacture runs, and not that they're going to be bunting all the time, but they don't have a ton of power. And without that, I mean, you better hit for average, and they don't. So they get raked last night. Bryce Elder holds them to 7 scoreless innings, and they end up getting shut out 6-0 by the Atlanta Braves. A couple of other things real quickly. Rick Pitino, you see what our man is doing?
No.
Scoring high-level recruits from all over the country. I mean, he literally has put together a team that might be able to beat the Pistons at St. John's. So that's great. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, for all the people that thought he wasn't going to be a good fit in New York, he's loving life there, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's at everything. Was he at the Met Gala also? I mean, did Lagerfeld extend him an invitation? Because he would be inclined to wear some kind of wacky outfit, would he
Oh,
not? I
for
mean,
sure.
he's got that little Nick Cage element to him
Yep.
from Con Air. But he seems to be loving life, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, for all the people that thought he might be some sullen, recluse while he was in New York and shy away from the press and the spotlight, there he is sitting next to high fiving Spike Lee after every Nick basket. So he's bought fully into New York, and it'll be interesting to see how he holds up during the regular season if the Jets get off to a lousy start. But the Jets well represented at these Knick games. Robert Saleh not even afraid to go outside during the offseason.
Yeah,
You would
well,
think most Jet head coaches just went somewhere where they could not be found during the offseason so that the call couldn't come that they were dismissed. But Robert Saleh very much front and center there with Aaron Rodgers and a couple of the Jet players at the Knick game last night. All right, it was a lot of fun. I watched the first period of the Panther game at home. Went out to a bar with the Mustang nearby Stingers with Dave B. I was surprised nobody there watching these games. They didn't even have the games on the TVs at the beginning. We had to ask to have them put on outside.
oh,
Can you imagine?
Jesus. Yeah, that's
I don't know. You said you had a contingent.
there were people there. Yeah, it wasn't packed. Remember, big as a lounge. It's not
Yeah.
like a sports bar. But Mayo, we'll talk with Mayo later. Mayo was at a sports bar. Maybe they got hammered. I don't know.
Shenanigans, I would think, was pretty full. No,
I
they,
feel
they- they have that kind of clientele where they're coming to watch the sports.
yeah. So I feel like South Florida's getting on the bandwagons, but I don't know. Like you've said it's a strange
It's a remarkable time. I mean, it really is. We haven't had that feeling here since 1999, right?
96, 97. I mean,
Well, I mean, with the song there, I was going with the Prince tune.
well, no, 'cause
We're going to party like it's 1999,
it's been
right?
that long. It's been that long.
What was that? We haven't had that feeling here since 1969. Was the song, right? I'm thinking, one of those Woodstock numbers. All right, we have to run. We'll have the Defo show coming up on South Florida Live. We would appreciate it. I saw our subscriber number is relatively thin compared to what's going on 5 Reasons. So if you're a fan of Defo on 5, I think you really like our show. I actually was perusing through some old shows there. Just happened to look up some stuff yesterday about our channel and what we've been doing. We're putting on a hell of a show there, Lubie.
There you
You
go.
should be proud of yourself.
Having a good time.
Good guests. I mean, great conversations. All kinds of good stuff going on there. I mean, I'm looking at the body of work. I'm thinking we did all that. That's pretty good.
Having a good time. So come find us
Not
over
bad.
at South Florida Live. We'd love to have you.
Subscribe, man. We need to see a giant number there. We need to see all 20,000 5 Reasons Sports Network subscribers come right on board on South Florida Live and take their way into our show. All right, we'll have that coming up at 7:00 here on the East Coast, and we go live from 7 to 9, and then you can watch that thing on an endless link for the rest of your life. And thanks to Mike Lubie Lubitz, of course, for getting us off to a good start here today. I literally, didn't have time to clear my throat. We popped the music on, but it's easy to roll into a show when you have so much going on here locally that has been wildly entertaining so far in this it's still the early stages of the postseason, and we're having this much fun. All right, we'll see you tomorrow on the next edition of Defo on 5.